Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, meeting to order, we do have a quorum. Mary let me know she's not able to join tonight, and we'll do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. See, we do have visitors today. They will be in our discussion session. Good. I think the next is, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Motion passes. And we will get into our discussion. Mike, if you can bring in our first search firm, which I think is Human Capital.
Human Capital, and that's Kathleen Rodman Nord. I will go get her and bring her.
Thank you very much. Hello. Feel free to bring a chair. Oh, sorry. I can help you. If you want, sometimes being all the way back makes this, I hope that's okay, Candace.
Yeah, no, please.
Right.
Well, I'm Kathleen with Human Capital Enterprises and very excited to be here with you tonight and share with you a bit about our process and answer any questions that you might have. So I just checked with Superintendent Johnson. It sounds like you've had access to the proposal for a little bit of time. You hopefully had a chance to look through it. Yeah, before we get started, would you mind introducing yourselves and telling me how long you've been on the board and?
Yeah. I'll go first. I'm Candace. I have been on the board 8 years, somewhere around there. And unfortunately, my second superintendent search, so we're sad to lose Mike, but it's the process.
Yeah, great.
Tim Rogers, I served on the board for 6 years, then I was off for 2, and I just started my 5th year back on, so I'm in my 11th. You didn't know anything else?
No, that's terrific. I mean, probably, assuming we work together, I'll have a chance to learn more about each of you because we do one-on-one interviews with each board member, so.
And this would also be my second search.
All right.
I'm Lacey Bristow. I've been on the board probably too long in most people's opinions. Once you are on for a certain point, then it's like, okay, it's time for fresh blood. I probably qualify in that pool for some people. 3 or 4, I can't remember. Superintendent searches.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
So-
from Ruby Price
Oh, yeah.
to, anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
I was in Lane County with a lot of your prior superintendents, so
yeah.
yeah. It's been great to have Superintendent Johnson for as long as you have. Yeah.
I'm Sarah Cox and I'm the fresh blood that she's speaking of. This is my third year on the board and we're super search.
Excellent, okay.
I'm Debbie Wilkerson and it's 6 years. How long have you been?
You've been here
Six.
at least 7.
Seven.
Time flies.
Mike Anderson, and it was 8 or 9. She tricked me. I thought it was gonna be 1.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
But this is search.
All right.
I'm Marilyn, I'm the board secretary.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi.
Nice to meet
She's
you.
been here longer than me, so that's.
Oh.
50-year plus employee.
Oh, my word. Gosh, and you've seen a lot and you know pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think a lot of changes for sure.
Yeah.
So I think, Mike's my superintendent number 9.
Well, hopefully you'll stick around for number 10 and they'll stick around for a long time.
I'm here to have me, so
Yeah.
I
Great.
love my job.
Okay. Well, as I said, so nice to be here with you all and thank you for taking the time to look at the proposal and to just consider our firm for this really important work. Do I have a PowerPoint?
Yeah, we have a bathroom back there.
Oh, excellent.
Questions?
Thank you. And then,
Build those you up.
all right, and is the board able to see behind me?
They can.
Yeah.
Okay, super,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's kind of awkward. All right.
Report.
Oh, thank you.
This is your slideshow here.
Yeah. And I just put, fair enough. Simple and not too many slides, I promise. It's PowerPoint. And would you, is it okay if I sit or would you? Okay, all right.
So.
All right, thank you. So I just really quickly wanted to share a little bit about our firm and the consultants that will be working with Creswell if you select our firm. So Human Capital Enterprises is a firm that has done searches throughout the country, hundreds of searches, but we primarily serve the Pacific Northwest. And we have really deep roots in Oregon. And I personally have very deep roots in Lane County. So the lead on the search would be Christy Perry, and Christy's native Oregonian. She served 18 years in the superintendent's chair. The first 9 of those were in Dallas, Oregon, so kind of a similarly sized district to Creswell. Has a very deep understanding of schools big and small. The last 9 years of Christy's service, she was superintendent of Salem Kaiser Public Schools. She retired a couple years ago, and before she retired, she was named Oregon Superintendent of the Year, and she also was a finalist for the National Superintendent of the Year position. She, in addition to working with Human Capital Enterprises, does mentoring for COSA and the Coalition of Oregon School Administrators. And she convenes groups of superintendents. So it's Kathleen Rodden-Nord. I am I'm not a native Oregonian, but I've been here for 4 years, having moved here to attend grad school with my husband law school. And
40 or
40. 40. So I feel like it was,
in my head.
and I was an Air Force brat, so I moved everywhere, and so Oregon's felt like home for a long time. Yeah. So 34 years in Oregon public education, started in special ed, was a school psych, special ed director, building administrator, and then the last 18 years I spent as superintendent of the Junction City School District. So have very strong connections in Lane County and also at the state level because post-retirement, I did 3 years of mentoring through COSA's new superintendent academy. And I've also done board superintendent training. I've done program audits for some districts in Oregon and also have done supported boards with and districts with strategic planning. I've been with Human Capital Enterprises since early 2020. I started before I retired, and I have, gosh, I don't know, dozens and dozens of searches that I've done. last year, our firm had the honor of serving as the search firm for both Eugene 4J and then South Lane. I always want to call it Cottage Grove, but we did their search last spring, and I think if you had any interest, you could certainly check with Tanya, your counterpart there. You probably know Tanya, and perhaps Pauline Valley, who is the vice chair of the board there. And they've had and they've had some turnover there just since we did the search in the spring. So she'd probably be a great connection for you. So I want to just talk through a couple things with you. I don't want to belabor it because I know you all can read and you've read the proposal, but we are different than a typical search firm, I suppose, and perhaps different from others that you might hear from. And I would just say we're really widely known for our attention to detail. We take the burden off of staff and we carry pretty much every single piece of the process. We need a little of assistance on the front end, where particularly when we're doing our community engagement, when we are doing focus groups, we need a little help with scheduling and we need a little assistance with pushing out a survey that's available to the entire community. And then from there, the only other thing we really ask for help with is just getting a presence on the website so that your community can stay updated on where the process is and how they can get involved potentially in informing your selection of next superintendent. So that engagement process I just briefly described, focus groups and survey, is what allows us to really learn your district very deeply. And that helps us in a couple of different ways. It allows us to understand what is going really well here, and that helps us in recruiting extraordinary talent. We're able to tell people why Creswell would be a great place to work. It also, we learn about the challenges facing the district because we want people to be aware of that. We want to make sure that we're matching people who are equipped to deal with those challenges, should they take on your superintendency. And we also share information kind of at a high altitude with the board about what we heard from your community. We use all of that engagement data to write the next superintendent criteria document. It's totally personalized for your district. It's not boilerplate. It's not pick from a list of 40 characteristics that you're looking for. It's literally something that we craft in partnership with you to make sure that we're looking for the right person for Creswell at this moment in time. So we also are really known for exceptional communication with the board. We provide frequent updates. We routinely just make sure that we are attending to any questions that the board may have. We also help the board navigate communication about the search. Sometimes staff members or public folks from your public will have questions and we help you navigate that in a way that ensures fairness and integrity in the process for applicants. Yeah, I would say the other thing that's really different about our firm is from the candidate's perspective. People really describe us as being super caring and communicative. People feel like that's real different than the experience they might have had with other search firms. And we build relationships not only with the board, but also with the people that we recruit for positions. So the last point there, your staff is already working hard enough, and we really do pride ourselves on keeping the burden off your staff and taking responsibility for every aspect of the process. So okay, I'll talk fast. You guys have a long night, I'm sure. So just quickly to overview our process, we start in a planning meeting, a work session with you where we will, talk through the steps in the process. We'll outline a timeline that we ask the board, to commit to early on. So we feel like that helps, potential applicants plan their lives. They know when interviews are gonna be held and your community knows various, stages in the process. We establish communication norms so that you all know if you have a question, how to get in touch with us and how we'll share information back with you. Communication norms around potential applicants and that we take the lead on that. And if you get an inquiry from a prospective applicant, we ask you to send them our way and we manage that piece in the process. And that's another way that we ensure integrity and fairness, is just making sure that there isn't an opportunity for one person to get a leg up with the board as opposed to other applicants. And so talked a little bit about the engagement piece. That's just really probably the most fun part of the work for me, is just getting a chance to hear from kids and from students and from parents and community members and from you, the board, and others, just what's going well and what challenges the district's facing. And then really understanding exactly what you need in your next superintendent. And some of you who have been through multiple superintendent searches probably understand that at different moments in time, you're looking for a different kind of superintendent. Not always. Yeah, so we very much learn what it is that you need, and then we tailor our whole approach to reflecting that. So we will advertise and recruit to the extent that you desire us to do that. Advertising, we have an e-blast that goes out to more than 40,000 leaders across the country. We have ways, if it's the board's desire to focus on an applicant pool that's more regional or even Oregon, then we will have some recommendations on how best to recruit qualified folks from Oregon. So that's one of the things we'll talk through in the process, pretty early in the process. Recruiting, I think you probably saw in our proposal, we were asked to do both, present the option for either a comprehensive or a streamlined search. And one of the differences between the two of them is with the comprehensive search, there's a lot more, I guess, energy that goes into recruiting. So that would be one thing we want to be talking about and thinking about if you are vacillating between either a comprehensive search or a streamlined search. We take care of facilitating the interviews all the way through the process. We do a telephone reference check on each of the people that we offer a preliminary interview to. In our comprehensive search, it's basically 5 interviews. The first one is with the consultants. And from there, we come back and you are provided recordings of those interviews along with access to all the application materials. And then we help you determine who you'd like to invite to board interviews. So in the comprehensive process, that would be a first round interview with probably 4 or 5 people. And then after that, you would have, we'd have a confidential community panel that would interview your finalists. And then the board would interview finalists. And then the comprehensive also builds in opportunities for reverse interviews where your finalists have a chance to talk to the outgoing superintendent and to some other key people in the district, probably you as well. And so that's the comprehensive process, and really the streamlined process it includes every component as far as engagement, the preliminary interviews, the support of the board throughout the interview process. We develop all of the interview questions. We sit side by side with the board in those interviews and help you deliberate. We have a really good protocol for just thinking about interviews and your takeaways from that, and then really helping a board get to the place where they decide on the best person for their superintendency. We can assist you in the transition as well. We will help you with doing a public announcement once the board has selected their candidate. We also can offer services for superintendent board training. I think I mentioned I've done some of that, and mentoring of the new superintendent, if that's something that the board would desire, particularly if it's a brand new person who's never sat in the chair before. We've got some real in-house expertise that can be valuable in that respect. So I'm just done. So in your proposal on page 13, you'll see kind of like a quick comparison between the comprehensive and the streamlined search that we've provided options for. And as I said, you know, the engagement work is, that's not something we would ever let go of. And that's an important part of both the comprehensive and the streamlined search. At the streamlined search level, the interviews are fewer. And so the board can elect whether they want the consultants to do the interviews first. You look at the recordings, look at application materials, and then we work with you to decide who your finalists are. Or we can do a first round board interview so that we skip the preliminary, but we're there with you during that first round interview, and then we assist you in determining who your finalists are, and then we support you with the final interviews. The third one that's referenced there in the streamlined approach is that confidential community panel. And we find that that is just a really critical way of making sure parents, staff, community, students have a voice in understanding who the finalists are. And they give the board high level, high value feedback from those interviews. We're clear in that process and throughout the process that this decision belongs solely, you know, on the shoulders of the board. It's one of your most important responsibilities as a board. So we make sure that the feedback you get isn't like, we prefer this person or that person, but rather it's like, here are the things we really found compelling about this person, and here's some questions we still have for when the board interviews them. And okay. So just super fast, we have unmatched success rate. We have never had a failed search. We have 98% of those 100+ superintendents we placed have served a minimum of 3 years in their district, with the exception of one. And that is a person who jointly made the decision with a brand new board that they weren't what he was not what they needed. This new board was looking for. So that is literally the only one we've had that hasn't served at least 3 years. And most of them, we have some very long tenured superintendents that we've facilitated boards hiring. Uniquely, we are not only experienced superintendents, but we also have HR professionals. Our president, Hank, was the HR director of Portland Public Schools. He's worked in other smaller districts, Canby and so on. Another one of our consultants is a longtime HR director for Northwest Regional ESD. So they bring a different lens to this work, you know, different than superintendents do. So we feel like it's really a great complement of skills. We handle the work and you focus on the decisions. Our process is very well articulated. We'll make sure that you understand it, and we will make it a seamless experience, not only for you, but for the candidates. I know we find boards really seeing us as trusted advisors. And, you know, oftentimes in a search, there'll be things that come up and, whether that is within internally with respect to the process or an applicant, or whether it's external and the board needs some support for problem solving, how to navigate through a challenge that's related to the search. And, I would say you could call any board chair, board member on that list, that's in our proposal and ask them how their experience was with us. And I'm real confident that they would say that, you know, we exceeded their expectations and we really helped guide their decision-making in a very, just a very helpful way. And then finally, we don't forget about the candidates in this, you know, these are people that are taking time out of their lives, they're sort of putting themselves out there and, you know, having a lot of hopes, in their aspiration for your position. And so we make sure that we care for them very, very carefully, and we communicate a lot with them. And so we often hear from candidates like, wow, even if they don't get the position, you know, they get the courtesy of a really in-depth call with us after the process is concluded. And apparently that's something that most other firms don't do. So, okay, I feel like I've just gone on, and I'm sure I talked way too fast, maybe gave you too much information, maybe not enough. So I'm wondering what questions you have.
I think you did great.
Oh, thank
So
you.
You didn't talk too fast, we followed along.
Okay, great.
A question, oh, I just chair loose too.
Ooh, careful.
A question around, is there a difference in your searches on what assets you use to advertise?
Yes. And that is something we do in consultation with the board. And a lot of it is, it depends on how broad a reach the board wants to have. So, y'all are members of COSA, I'm assuming. Okay, so COSA has a job board, and I think, Superintendent Johnson can probably attest to the fact that, leaders throughout Oregon, not only sitting superintendents, but people who are aspiring to superintendency, that's the place they go to. That's free. That's something that you have access to by virtue of being a member of COSA. There are a couple of national level options, and really it's not super necessary to do that unless you want a national search or unless you're looking for a very specific kind of applicant. There are some districts who really, it's very important for them to have a bilingual superintendent. And so in that case, we would target our recruiting efforts through ALAS, the Association of Latino Administrators. And I don't know, does that answer your question?
For the most part,
Okay.
I guess a more nuanced question, does your firm maintain like a confidential list of people that you recruit only for the comprehensive search versus the streamlined? Like
We will recruit for both, and we do have just a huge database because we've talked to a lot of really exceptionally talented
Sure.
people.
and so your network is available under both.
Absolutely,
Okay,
yes. And we,
I should have asked it that way,
That's
just to
okay.
come to you sooner.
yeah,
So thank you.
and that 40,000 plus people who receive that email blast from us, what they'll get is an announcement that says Creswell School District in Oregon is looking for their next superintendent. Here are some things about the community that would get people excited to apply. We are very responsive to people who reach out with questions about the position. And we also make time to talk with every single person who wants to avail themselves of that opportunity. And that's where we share with people what we learned through that engagement process about strengths and challenges.
Thank you.
You bet.
And if we were to choose to want it to be more a smaller search, is
Uh-huh.
there a blast that goes out? Or
Yes.
like a more local, like not like necessarily local, but more Pacific Northwest or
Yeah.
regional?
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, the COSA piece is definitely one that everyone in Oregon is very tuned into. Christy and I both have a huge number of connections by virtue of being Oregon superintendents for 18 years and certainly, I think have a good handle on people that are even really local to you all. So feel like we could, bring some really quality applicants to you for your consideration.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you bet. Anything else from? Okay, well, I so appreciate you giving us this opportunity to talk with you and obviously we'd be honored to help you out and just, yeah. I wish you luck one way or another. I know that these are gonna be big shoes to fill and, yeah.
Thank you for spending some.
Absolutely,
Yeah, thank you so
yeah,
much.
my pleasure, my pleasure. I'm heading up the road to Beaverton, I'm meeting with a group of students tomorrow morning, so that's.
I'll drive carefully and talk so fast.
No worries. And just look at that clock, it's an hour off, don't think you're at 7:30.
Oh, goodness, okay, thank you. All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
I'm a lot more
Thank you.
Good night.
I don't, there's a lot of conflict.
Jot down, this might be a good plan before, I think. You didn't say Vince, I don't know who's going to be on this view,
The proposal said that.
it did, but I swear he said someone else's name,
I
but maybe he meant.
Yeah.
Oh. Should be like separating those out as opposed to keeping them separate.
Huh? Thanks. I'm gonna be on my plan to my notes. Those are good, those are the ones. Okay.
So, I don't know. Okay, write it down. Probably written. So when do we talk about? Since the format of the meeting changed for Maryland comes to administrator, I guess I don't understand because it's my first process. When do we talk about like? What?
Which one we're choosing?
Not which one we're choosing, like, question, what are we looking for? That's after we choose a company. So
No,
we,
in a company. Do we
Oh.
have a discussion regarding
Yeah.
both? And then
Yeah.
we choose one?
yeah, but I think yours were you asking like what we are looking for in a superintendent? Yeah, after we take a search firm, that's what they'll lead us through. That's
What we
the
want us
first
to do.
part of what they'll lead us through. Yeah, are you uncomfortable with that, or?
I just didn't know
what the process
was.
Yeah, yeah, so after we decide who we're gonna go through, that's most of that, like, for her, that's kind of her step one. Is. We plan with you, so overall the process, what are we looking for, what's the community looking for? And then that gets ready for a job posting, and I think she even said she does one-on-one with each board member. To see what you think outside of what the rest of us think. We'll see what, is it Vince or is it someone else?
Jennifer is here representing OSBA,
Is it
and so whenever you're ready, I can go get her.
Yeah, it's good.
The time is now.
Yeah, it's good. Once they're done, then we can have the rest of the meeting to talk amongst us about which one we would prefer. And that's why we went in special session instead of working session, is we can vote tonight if we're comfortable. If we're not comfortable, we can vote.
Stan, Jennifer. Let's go different board, Jennifer, so let's be in.
Thank you. Okay, we have my stuff right up there too. Good, works for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. I'm gonna kind of go through, I know I brought the items along for you to follow along. Do I need to just kind of?
I can go back and forth across the whole page, but I'm not certain.
Oh,
Yeah, that's like it's gonna work.
okay, that works really well. Perfect. Then I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jen Nelson. I am with OSBA. I'm a board development specialist. I'm also an executive search consultant. But before joining OSBA, I was a board clerk for about 20 years. So I sat on the sidelines, and in my role, I have supported about 35 different executive searches, sometimes as the board clerk and then other times as a consultant here with OSBA. So I've seen lots of different sides of the search process. Yeah, that's pretty much my stories. I mostly have been a city recorder and a school board secretary in Carlton. So I just wanted to kind of let you know that I have a lot of different areas. So I like to support from both sides and try and take some of that pressure off the staff, because I know how much searches can take out on staff and the board as well, because it's a lot of work. So just before we get started, I just wanted to kind of let you know a little bit about that. Let's see, so looking at Creswell, I've kind of done a little digging. I know that Vince has worked with you all before, but I haven't personally gotten to do any board development training with you. So I wanted to kind of see what you're all about. I have a lot of experience working with smaller school districts, and I always love working with them because they have a lot of unique things to offer. And really, that's what we do when we're trying to create your search materials and advertising. We work closely with you to really find out what it is that your goals are, what your mission and vision is. And by the end, we become one of your biggest cheerleaders, and we want to make sure that people know all there is to know about your district and that we find the right person to come in for you as well. We are, of course, we've been here for about 75 years and serving in board governance roles and doing trainings. I think that our executive search skills, we've kind of only opened it the last decade or so. So we have experience, and we have a lot of people who have had experience with it, but that hasn't been our main focus for a long time. It's really about the board governance relationship and the relationship between the board and the superintendent. But we felt that this was a good way to kind of get started in on those leadership teams and helping you with the things that you need to do. By being a part of that process of you selecting your new leader when that time comes. Let's see. So we do have a lot of personalized service because we've gotten to know you probably from times that we've been with you or gone to events together and things like that. So we have a lot of things that we try and develop that relationship right from the start. And then we have our national recruitment capacity, and I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. So what sets us apart? Well, unlike a lot of other different firms, we don't have a pre-selected list of candidates that we try and select for you or hand to you. We really put the decision in the hands of the board. We like you to see all of the applicants and candidates right from the start. Because sometimes if you get to look through the application materials, there may be things that you're specifically looking for that we might miss if we're just the only ones who are looking. We really want you to be the ones who are involved in deciding who looks like they would be a good candidate and a good fit for you based on their application materials all the way through to the interviews as well. But we don't let you do that by yourself. We support you along the way with all the communication and setting up resources and tools and rubrics, helping you select questions, and also just kind of being there along the way to train you too in the different elements that it takes. Because I don't know how many of you have ever been involved in this executive search since you've served on the board before. Everybody but you. You'll really like the trainings. Okay, well, that's good to know that you've been through some of it, but some of you haven't. So it can seem really overwhelming and daunting at first, but we have a lot of supplies and tools and trainings that we felt has been helpful along the way to just kind of let you know what is expected of you as you're entering into the role and throughout the process.
Because we do all the trainings and we are here after and before, you select a new superintendent. We, want to ensure that balanced governance and what you need to do as superintendents and that relationship building between you and the new executive is really foremost. That idea that the research showing, the tenure, stability, good relationships between superintendent and the boards are really important for positive student impact, and that's really where we want to make sure that we're focusing on. And we do continue that throughout, even after you selected the superintendent and the search is concluded, we're still here for those kinds of questions that come up. As I mentioned, the relationships are really at the center of the search and our process. We really like the board to direct every direction that we go. We like to support you, but we like you to give us guidance about what you're looking for, what you envision, what you want to ensure continues from the great things that have already started and that you're currently working on. Especially when you're concentrating on other things like bonds and facility projects and the directions that you want to do for academics. We want to make sure that the part of searching for the next superintendent isn't a burden. And we also want to make sure that you're thinking about including everybody because that community seems really important to Creswell and it is to us as well to make sure that we're getting input from all areas. So we just want to help you to be the center of that. Our search process is pretty similar to most of the ones you've probably seen. There's not a lot of deviation from the different processes and the different steps, but a little bit of variation that we have goes into that planning and developing those qualities and qualifications, really seeking out input from students, staff, community members. We have an option for focus groups. We do have some surveys that is really also talking with the board and determining your needs assessments too, and incorporating all of that into the basics of what you need, the qualities and qualifications of what you're looking for that's going to take you where you want to go in your vision and mission. So we really focus quite heavily in the beginning on making sure we truly understand what you're looking for, because then that helps us to do that marketing and to target those different markets specifically for the kinds of people that you're looking for and what they have to offer as well. So we can get them to apply. And then, of course, after the advertising part, we also support you with that recruitment and the screening. We don't screen the applications by ourselves. We're not gatekeepers. We'd like you to be a part of that process, as I mentioned before, so that you can see the details. There might be something you see within the application materials that really excites you that we might have missed if we were just looking at a blanket thing. So we like you to be a part of that process. We support you. And then we provide that screening training for you. And if you do decide to have a screening panel of staff or students, oftentimes it's really nice to bring community members and people into the process for the screening of the actual applications. Ultimately, the board makes the decisions, but it's nice to have that debriefing and the input from others as you decide who you'd like to interview. And the first round of interviews we do virtually, and then we do the finalist interviews are also held in conjunction with a kind of day in the district where they get to come out and do some site visits and meet with key staff and have some community forums. And then, of course, we help you with the selection process. And ultimately, part of the package too is transition services. So we do offer those as part of your base fee for the search process, and that's 6 hours of board development training that we offer. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get to those individual items. So I think I already kind of discussed about the planning phase. Really during that time is when we're doing usually about a 2-week survey. We ask you to put out that we can get some information from your community and from staff and students and parents, really seeing what they're looking for in the next superintendent and what they value from the current relationship that they want to continue, those kinds of questions. Then we also help you develop a search calendar. I did kind of put a preliminary search calendar in there based on the meetings that you already have on your second to Wednesday of the month at 6 o'clock. I really try and work in with meetings you're already having. So we don't have too many special meetings or additional meetings that we're piling on top of the board to go through this process, because it can get pretty strenuous if you have too many different ones. So I did provide something to kind of look at. You definitely would have some input on changing that around so it works best for you, but I wanted to give you an idea of how long it looks and what we're looking at and the different things we have to do. That community engagement part, talked about the surveys. We also have optional focus groups. We have, really that needs assessment, just talking with the board and kind of deciding what it is that you're looking for. And we bring all of this together. We gather pictures, we ask for different facilities, pictures of students. Some districts have done little videos saying, hey, why you would want to come to Creswell, something like that. And that we incorporate all of that into the advertising and marketing flyers, as well as those qualities and qualifications that you developed in support with your community. And really everything that we do from screening on is focused around those qualities and qualifications, and that's what we use as the basis for all evaluations for candidates. I would talk a little bit about our recruitment. We do say that we do a national recruitment with a Western US focus. And what that really means is that we have a wide network of state associations that we meet on a regular basis with. And a lot of those state associations do executive searches. And we collaborate with them on a monthly basis. We also send materials that kind of put everything onto their website. So if people are looking to search and they're like in Pennsylvania and they decide they want to come to Oregon, they can go to this national site and then they can automatically be redirected to Oregon as well. We focus on some of the ones that we found because of their closer in proximity. We found a lot of people in Colorado, California, Washington, that have really wanted to come to Oregon. Either they've been here before or they're close enough. The relocation seems like it makes sense and they eventually want to be here. So that's why we have that kind of Northwest focused, because we want to make sure that we're getting people that have different experiences in different areas, but also that it's feasible too, that they may want to be coming to Oregon. And we have found a lot have in those areas, and that's where we're seeing a lot of our applications. So once we've seen where the applications are coming from, that's where we started directing our marketing. But we also have a really large set of about 40,000 people on direct email marketing list that we've gathered over the years and the previous consultants. And that is nationwide, and people can join that at any time. We also have a great digital communications department, and then we have digital marketing plans that we come up with. We really look at what you're looking for and the qualities you're looking for, and we target that audience through the different parameters that we can put into our social media markets. I think we talked a little bit about the screening and interviews. We train your team and then the board selects the interview candidates. We have the first one. Ever since COVID, we really started doing that first one initially as a virtual component because we found that that's a skill you need to have now, that you have to have that virtual component. You need to be able to present yourself virtually. So we like to have both an in-person and a virtual component. So we start off with that virtual one. It's really easy to get people, if they are coming from somewhere else, to get them on to an interview and at least be able to determine if you'd like to bring them on as a finalist before we start paying for those travel expenses as well. Just to give you an idea, I know I get this question a lot, is about how much time the staff or the screeners are going to devote to that screening process. Staff, not so much unless they join the screening panel, because we have a lot of things that we send the communications directly to everyone ourselves. We have an admin on our team, as well as we just kind of work together to make sure that those communications go out. So we aren't burdening staff. But as screeners, you wouldn't expect to have that 1 to 2 hours of training to prepare you for your roles. Or your screening panel, if you do select one, which sometimes can have students, can have staff, maybe an occasional community member that is heavily involved. And then once we have that all selected, that takes about 30 to 60 minutes per application, usually to screen through and determine your rankings. That's what we've averaged about. We teach you how to do it pretty quickly. It's an online platform. We also create rubrics and things for you to work through to make your decisions, and then you rank them. So we usually give you about a week to 10 days to do that once we've completed this screener training. Sometimes we extend it if needed, depends on when the next meeting is going to be that you're selecting for interviews. And then once we have completed the first round of interviews, which we've helped you to develop those questions based on what you're looking for, and also some of the things that have come up during the screening process, there may be some questions that we want to make sure we really target those questions. We help the board to develop them, but you really have strong input on that. We don't provide the questions, we do provide question banks, and then we help you to select what's best to ask. And then we try and be consistent in that first interview. And then the finalist interviews get to be a little bit more in depth, especially after we find out reference checks and background checks and things like that. We might want to put those a little bit clearer in that finalist phase. And then in the finalist phase, you have that final interview, and that usually is in conjunction with a site visit to the district. And that's really where Creswell gets to shine and kind of show what we have to offer in person and get to meet with key staff. I love putting the candidates in front of students because they ask the best questions. And it's really fun to see those interactions with the potential new superintendents and the students that they'd be serving. We take the heavy lifting on that as far as logistics, but we do have to ask staff a little bit of stuff because we want to make sure that we're not holding those days and those interviews during a time where something big is happening in the community or something big is happening with the school district or staff has an in-service day. We want to make sure that everything's in touch. But then once we get those basics, we try and help as much as possible to support that process for staff so they aren't burdened with that. I do always like to give that travel cost breakdown. What we've tried to do, because we recognize, especially budget constraints with smaller districts and we know what you're facing, we've really tried to combine, as I said, a lot of our items with meetings you're already holding. We have transferred things to do it in ways that we can attend virtually if that's what you choose. But we really like to come out for that day in the district, and we're only a couple hours away, so it's not too far. But I did want to give you an idea with the mileage and the travel time, and the estimated cost would be about $475 from Salem to here per visit. But typically, we only need 1, maybe 2 days of that if you want to do everything else virtual to save costs. But we're welcome or willing to come out anytime you'd like to have us in person as well. We do have 2 layers of guarantees. That 1-year guarantee is if you hire a superintendent and they leave within 1 year for any reason, that we'll go ahead and waive the base fee to do the next search. There may be some travel costs, there may be some additional marketing, but if we've already done the marketing for you and we don't want to do any substantive changes to the format or the profile or materials, then there probably wouldn't be any charge for that either. It has happened on occasion that there are no qualified candidates or there's qualified candidates, but it's just not the right fit. So we end up having a search that's like, oh, we don't have somebody that we really, really want to select. And that has happened on occasion, and we would do the same thing, or that we would guarantee the next search, we would just run the next one for you. We have an interim list that sometimes we would help you, assist you to find a possible interim while you're waiting to do the next search. But we wouldn't charge anything over then the travel and any expenses related to that or any additional needs for marketing that we don't already have built. And then of course the transition support, we do have those 6 hours that I said. We do like you to complete that before the end, within July to December of when the new superintendent comes on. Really, we like to get that so we can start off on the right foot and make sure that everybody's aware of expectations, roles, responsibilities, and also kind of reviewing that superintendent evaluation criteria and helping you to develop that if it's going to change in any way whatsoever with the new superintendent. Because sometimes the superintendents have different things that they're used to doing with evaluations. So we just really wanted to provide communication protocols, expectations for the new team as you're working together and to support you with that. And of course, we do the same trainings afterwards, but this is included. And then as I said before, that's really just about relationships, that we're really driving the community input as well as the boards, that we walk with you, support you, but that you're driving everything, just to make sure that the next selection for your superintendent is going to fit well for everyone, not just the board, but the community as well. So that's kind of quick. I tried to close. What kind of questions do you have? It's a lot. I tried to put a synopsis of highlights for you as well.
And having to set through the, for you and Vince, presentation at the OSP.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Got a lot of answers there.
We're gonna do another webinar. We decided to continue that. We're gonna do it on the 18th of December. So if you want to come again and get any other questions, we just decided we're gonna continue the conversation. It was really well received.
Glad to be with you.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear.
Do you and Vince do this together? Like if.
Yeah, it's a great question. So really what we say is that you're getting a lead consultant. We usually, based on what their timing, your schedule looks out, we try and assign a lead. So we have a point person to communicate with you and staff and everything. But really, you're getting the whole team. So like, for example, Vince was unable to come out tonight, so he just called us and said, hey, would you mind going out there? And we just worked on our schedules. We also have another consultant who works with us. And he's more available he has his own human resources consulting. And then we trained him in our ways and we brought him on, so he is also an option. And then Reggie, our department administrative assistant, really helps too with any of the background support that we need, or if somebody's having trouble getting out to Revelis, late at night before things are due as far as the rankings, then he's really there, and so am I, to make sure that we can work through that. So you're getting the whole team, or a small team, but we're pretty mighty. But we do assign somebody that we want to be like your point person that you direct lead contact, and that has a contact with staff on a regular basis. Okay,
Thank you. Other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you so much for taking time
Thank you
to
very much.
drive down here. We very much
I'm
appreciate it.
glad it worked out. It was a busy day, so. Well, thank you so much for having me. And if any other questions come, just let me know.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Johnson, come back, just to make sure they're both. Go on, and then move into discussion.
And we're especially in the open session.
Yeah, I think we have to for purposes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, and we're on YouTube right now, if anyone forgot.
Yeah.
I do. What's that? Okay, so, as you asked earlier, we kind of changed from a working session to a special session. I think the content would have been the same, we would have reviewed these two proposals, but changing it to a special session allows us to vote if we want to today. And if we were in a working session, we couldn't have voted. So, we don't have to vote today if people wanna think about it or have concerns. The main reason we talked about moving it to a special session to allow us to vote is it keeps us on timeline. If we pick someone today, it allows us to get started and we're not waiting another month before the process would start. So that was the ultimate goal. I think we can have the same conversations essentially as we could in a working session, this allows us to vote. So I'll kind of open it to the group. If anyone has thoughts or preferences, we could start with likes of either group. And then kind of go from there. Is that fair? Everyone?
Everybody wants to talk.
Yeah.
I like, we're talking about human capital first, right?
Yes.
It did like a number of things about them that they crafted it specifically to what our desires are for the recruitment itself. They're very, she sounded like they were gonna base it off the information they gathered from surveys, focus groups, and that they do that for us. I also did like that they had HR experience from multiple different districts and areas. Sound like they had a pretty big group of people to work for them. And I thought she was very personable too. I enjoyed her presentation. So those are my likes.
Yeah.
I agree with all those.
Okay, how about, do we wanna talk about OSBA, what we've liked or felt comfortable with? I'll go first. I mean, we've used them, we've used them before, right? They're an entity we're used to and we've engaged with many times. I think many of us know the process that will probably be, I think it looks pretty similar to what we did last time.
I kind of like, kind of favor the OSBA just because that's how I found my And in the process, we've been, well, or maybe that's took some time. The question I have, and this is executive session, so we can.
We're not in executive
Oh,
session,
we're not.
we're in open session.
We have a young lady in our system that we can't talk about
I
that.
don't think we should, I think we have to focus on picking these.
This needs to,
Yeah,
okay,
so I
some
think,
point in time, the other thing, we gotta talk about that.
We do, I think during the actual review of applicants and selection is probably when that's.
When- Probably when you get into an executive session.
Okay, yeah, there's a couple of people that are talking about. But, no, I thought both presentations were really good. I thought it was kind of funny when we were in the OSBA session, when Nancy needed something answered, he asked her.
No, that's good to know,
Which is-
yeah.
Not, I mean, not glad she came, that.
Yeah.
They both. Pretty good presentations, they both have a lot of good points, I'm not ready to vote if that's what needs to be said, I'd like to read through these things again and make a decision, but I don't wanna wait a month. If we
That's the hard part, is we have to either have another session, another special session. To vote, or we have to adjourn next board.
Then you have some kind of a, say, a week or two from now, have a Zoom meeting. Where we all.
That has to be, this meeting that's recorded.
What's that?
By law, it has to be recorded.
We could record a Zoom meeting, okay? I'm just trying to say, I mean, I'd be happy to come in, I don't live that far away, but if somebody can't, they could do it by Zoom, but. I don't know that I'm ready to make a decision, but I guess if I had to say one or the other, I think the OSBA. Did really well by us the last time.
Okay.
But, that's kind of where I'm leaning, but that's, I'd like to read both of those, go through both proposals.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm with Mike on that. But, resource wise, both firms seem pretty equal. I mean, they both have the 40,000 person email list. And so they both seem to have the same resources, they both seem to respect staff time, I think they both could do the job. But I think OSBA would be better suited to training us on how to do the various steps that we need to do. And they have the experience in training boards. Whereas I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that human capital does not, because they're both superintendents. And they obviously have worked with boards for decades. But OSBA has more resources in training boards and more experience. And as Mike alluded to, since my one superintendent search led us to Mike, and that was with OSBA, I do have some favoritism there, but as I tried to lay out though, I do favor OSBA and I said why.
Yeah.
I think they're just better suited to training boards. And they may need to walk us through these steps.
Fair enough.
Even though several of us have gone through these steps before, it's been a while. And I think they need that.
Okay, thank you.
So that's just where I'm leaning. And I could do a vote, but it probably wouldn't hurt to cogitate on things. If we can come back in a week or two.
How about you, lady? I think there's a difference in how they approach it. So I think the question for me comes down to how much control or flexibility do we want as a board? So human capital has a pretty structured approach. They're gonna do a lot more work for us, so we're gonna do less. So I think an evaluation of time of how much we actually have to give, because it doesn't move forward unless we do it with OSBA. Right, so human capital, there's 6 focus groups, and I'm looking at the streamline
Yeah.
search, because I didn't think that we. In my opinion, I don't think we need the comprehensive, the streamline seemed pretty good if we were gonna go with the approach. 6 focus groups. With the flexibility with OSBA, if we wanted to have 10, we could, right? Like, we're paying for more of their time or designing the process. The 3 interviews is the only thing with human capital where I felt like, oh, that's probably could be a little bit restrictive if we get 2 top candidates. Or if we wanna have 3 community groups at 3 different times, or like with OSBA, we have the flexibility to do that. With human capital, it's a little bit more limited. But they're also gonna do the screening where we're not spending an hour.
For each
Looking
application,
at
that's
that
what my
application.
note, that was my note, we screened 30 to 60 minutes per application. And he said that he